In the realm of Avalon, where reality blurred like watercolors in the rain, a castle hung suspended in an eternal twilight sky. Its spires pierced the mist-laden air, their tips disappearing into swirling clouds that seemed to whisper ancient secrets. This was Misthaven, a fortress of enigmas and wonder, where the forgotten runes of Avalon lay hidden, waiting to be deciphered. Faelan Mistral, a young scholar with eyes that reflected the perpetual dusk, stood at the edge of a precipice, his gaze fixed on the floating marvel before him. His heart raced with a mixture of excitement and trepidation, for he knew that within those weathered walls lay the key to unlocking the mysteries that had plagued his dreams for as long as he could remember. As Faelan prepared to embark on his perilous journey to Misthaven, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. The air around him seemed to vibrate with an otherworldly energy, causing the hairs on the back of his neck to stand on end. He clutched his satchel tightly, feeling the weight of the ancient tomes and cryptic maps he had collected over years of obsessive research. These were his lifeline, his only hope of navigating the labyrinthine corridors of the floating castle and uncovering the truth behind the forgotten runes. Yet, as he took his first step towards the misty bridge that would lead him to Misthaven, a lilting voice called out from behind, stopping him in his tracks. "Faelan Mistral, seeker of forgotten lore, your path is not yours to walk alone," the voice sang, its tone a mixture of amusement and warning. Turning, Faelan found himself face to face with Iris Dewdrop, a sprite-like woman with eyes that sparkled like morning frost and hair that seemed to be woven from moonbeams. Her presence was at once comforting and unsettling, like a lullaby heard in a graveyard. "The runes have whispered your name, and I am here to guide you through the veils of mystery," she continued, a mischievous smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Faelan hesitated, torn between his instinct for caution and the undeniable pull of destiny he felt in Iris's words. As if summoned by the mention of the runes, the mist around them began to swirl and coalesce, taking on shapes that seemed almost human. From these ethereal forms stepped two more figures. Willow Mistmantle, a towering woman whose cloak seemed to be made of living shadows, and Cyrus Voidcaller, a man with eyes as black as the space between stars and skin etched with glowing symbols. They approached Faelan and Iris, their expressions unreadable, yet their purpose clear. "The castle calls to us all," Willow intoned, her voice like the rustling of leaves in a forgotten forest. Cyrus merely nodded, his gaze fixed on the floating fortress above. Faelan felt a shiver run down his spine, realizing that his quest had suddenly become far more complex than he had ever imagined. With his newfound companions by his side, Faelan took a deep breath and stepped onto the misty bridge. As they ascended towards Misthaven, the world around them seemed to shift and change, reality bending like a reflection in a funhouse mirror. Laughter echoed from unseen sources while shadows danced at the corners of their vision. The whimsical nature of their surroundings was betrayed by an undercurrent of unease, a sense that behind every wonder lurked a potential threat. As they finally reached the grand entrance of the floating castle, its doors swinging open with a groan that seemed to reverberate through time itself, Faelan couldn't shake the feeling that he was not just embarking on a quest for knowledge, but stepping into a tale where he might discover more about himself than he ever bargained for. Little did he know that within these magical walls, a truth awaited him that would shake the very foundations of his identity and forever alter the legacy of Avalon. As Faelan and his enigmatic companions ventured deeper into Misthaven, the castle's whimsical nature began to assert itself. Corridors stretched and contracted like living things, staircases rearranged themselves on a whim, and doors appeared and disappeared with mischievous glee. Iris Dewdrop flitted through the ever-changing landscape with ease, her laughter echoing off walls that seemed to breathe. "The castle is testing us," she sang, her voice a melody that somehow steadied the shifting floors beneath their feet. Willow Mistmantle's shadow-cloak billowed around her, occasionally reaching out to steady Faelan as he stumbled through a particularly tricky patch of reality. Cyrus Voidcaller remained eerily silent, his glowing runes pulsing in time with the castle's rhythm, as if he were communing with the very essence of Misthaven. Their first real challenge came in the form of the Library of Whispers, a vast chamber where books floated freely through the air, their pages fluttering open to reveal glimpses of forgotten knowledge. As Faelan reached for a particularly ancient tome, its leather binding cracked and weathered, the book suddenly snapped shut and darted away, letting out a sound suspiciously like a giggle. "The knowledge here isn't freely given," Willow intoned, her voice carrying the weight of ancient forests. "It must be earned, coaxed, like trust from a wild animal." Faelan nodded, understanding dawning in his eyes. He closed them, took a deep breath, and began to hum a lullaby his mother had sung to him as a child. To his amazement, the books slowed their frantic dance, some even drifting closer, as if drawn by the melody. As they delved deeper into the castle's secrets, tensions began to rise within the group. Cyrus's silence grew heavier, more pointed, while Iris's whimsy took on a sharp edge. Faelan couldn't shake the feeling that his companions knew more than they were letting on, that each had their own agenda hidden behind cryptic smiles and meaningful glances. During a moment of rest in a chamber where the ceiling reflected the night sky of 1,000 different worlds, Faelan confronted them. "Why are you really here?" he demanded, his voice echoing among the starry reflections. "What aren't you telling me about the forgotten runes?" The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the distant sound of the castle's laughter. It was Willow who finally spoke, her words careful and measured. "The runes are more than just ancient writing, Faelan. They're alive in a sense. They hold power beyond imagining, and they choose their wielder." Her shadow-cloak writhed as she spoke, as if agitated by the revelation. Iris nodded solemnly, her usual mirth absent. "We were drawn here, just as you were. The runes call to those with the potential to unlock their secrets." Cyrus, breaking his silence at last, fixed Faelan with his star-black eyes. "But power always comes with a price. Are you willing to pay it?" The weight of their words hung heavy in the air, and Faelan felt the enormity of his quest truly settle upon his shoulders for the first time. Their journey through Misthaven took on a new urgency after this revelation. Each room they encountered seemed to present a new puzzle, a test of wit, will, or wisdom. In the Hall of Mirrors, they faced distorted reflections of themselves that acted independently, forcing them to confront their deepest fears and hidden desires. The Garden of Twilight Blooms challenged them with riddles spoken by flowers that withered and died with each wrong answer. Throughout it all, Faelan felt himself changing, growing. His connection to the castle deepened, and he began to sense the presence of the runes, like a whisper just beyond hearing. But as his power grew, so did a nagging sense of familiarity, as if he had walked these halls before in a half-remembered dream. The whimsy of their surroundings took on a more sinister edge, the unsettling undercurrent growing stronger with each step towards the heart of Misthaven, where the forgotten runes awaited, ready to reveal a truth that would shake Faelan to his very core. The heart of Misthaven pulsed with an otherworldly energy as Faelan and his companions finally reached the Chamber of Forgotten Runes. The circular room was a masterpiece of impossible architecture, its walls adorned with shifting symbols that seemed to dance just at the edge of comprehension. In the center stood a pedestal of swirling mist, upon which rested an ancient tome bound in what appeared to be solidified twilight. As Faelan approached, drawn by an irresistible force, the book flew open, its pages a maelstrom of glowing runes that spilled into the air around them. The whimsical atmosphere of the castle crescendoed to a fever pitch, the very air thrumming with barely contained magic. "The Codex of Avalon," Iris whispered, her usual playfulness replaced by reverence. "The source of all runic magic, and the key to reshaping reality itself." Faelan reached out, his fingers trembling as they neared the swirling vortex of runes. The moment he made contact, a shockwave of pure energy pulsed through the chamber, and the world around them began to fracture. Fragments of other realities bled through the cracks. Glimpses of Avalon as it once was, as it might have been, as it could yet be. Faelan found himself overwhelmed by a flood of memories and knowledge, each rune imparting centuries of wisdom in the span of a heartbeat. As Faelan grappled with the influx of power, Cyrus stepped forward, his eyes blazing with an intensity that bordered on madness. "The runes have chosen," he intoned, his voice resonating with eldritch power. "But the price must still be paid." With a gesture, Cyrus tore a rift in reality, revealing a swirling vortex of chaos beyond. "The balance must be maintained, Faelan," he declared. "For Avalon to be reborn, it must first be unmade. You hold the power to reshape our world, but to do so, you must sacrifice everything you've ever known." The chamber trembled, caught between creation and destruction, as Faelan faced the ultimate test of his resolve. In that moment of crisis, as reality hung by a thread, Willow's shadow cloak expanded, enveloping the room in darkness. When it receded, they found themselves in a place between worlds, a nexus of all possible Avalons. Here, the truth Faelan had been seeking finally revealed itself in all its terrible glory. Memories long buried surfaced with crystal clarity, of a childhood in a shining city, of a sibling's betrayal, of a desperate ritual to preserve what remained of a dying world. "Brother," Willow said softly, her form shifting to reveal a face hauntingly similar to Faelan's own. "We've walked this path before, in lives you no longer remember. The cycle must be broken." The revelation hit Faelan like a physical blow, staggering him. He was not just a seeker of knowledge, but a key player in a cosmic drama that had been unfolding across countless lifetimes. The whimsical facade of Misthaven fell away, revealing the true nature of their quest: a test, a trial, a chance at redemption. With newfound clarity, Faelan understood the choice before him. He could use the power of the runes to restore Avalon to its former glory, but at the cost of the infinite possibilities that now existed. Or he could embrace the chaos, allow the old world to fade, and shepherd the birth of something entirely new and unknown. The weight of worlds rested on his shoulders as he stood poised between what was, what is, and what could be. In this moment of ultimate decision, the true legacy of the floating castle would be determined, and with it, the fate of Avalon itself. In the wake of his monumental decision, Faelan stood at the center of a maelstrom of magic and possibility. The power of the forgotten runes coursed through him, reshaping reality according to his will. As the chaos slowly began to settle, the familiar whimsical elements of Misthaven reasserted themselves, but now tinged with a new sense of purpose and understanding. The floating castle groaned and shifted, its very structure adapting to the changes wrought by Faelan's choice. Walls became permeable, allowing glimpses into myriad realities, while staircases now led to possibilities rather than mere physical locations. Through it all, Faelan remained rooted in place, his eyes glowing with the power of the runes as he guided the transformation. Willow, now revealed as Faelan's long-lost sibling, approached him cautiously. The shadow cloak that had once concealed her true identity now flowed around them both, a visual representation of their shared heritage and reunited bond. "You've done it, brother," she said softly, her voice carrying echoes of countless shared lifetimes. "You've broken the cycle." Faelan turned to her, his expression a mixture of exhaustion and wonder. "No," he replied, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "We've broken it together." The siblings embraced, their reunion a moment of quiet amidst the swirling energies of a reborn Avalon. As the initial surge of power began to wane, the true scope of the changes became apparent. Iris flitted about the chamber, her laughter now tinged with notes of various realities, creating a symphony of possibilities. "Oh, the stories we'll have to tell now," she exclaimed, her form shimmering as she passed through curtains of alternate timelines. Cyrus, his purpose fulfilled, found his stern demeanor softening. The runes etched into his skin began to fade, their power now dispersed throughout the new Avalon. He nodded to Faelan, a gesture of respect and perhaps a hint of relief, before he too began to explore the altered landscape of Misthaven. The group made their way through the transformed castle, marveling at the changes. Rooms that had once been mere puzzles or obstacles now served as windows into different facets of Avalon's past, present, and myriad potential futures. The Library of Whispers had become a nexus of knowledge, its books now containing not just the history of one world, but the collected wisdom of countless realities. In the garden of twilight blooms, flowers from 1,000 different Avalons grew side by side, their mingled fragrances telling stories of worlds that might have been. Throughout it all, the castle maintained its sense of whimsy, but now it was tempered with a deeper purpose, to serve as a guardian and guide for the new Avalon that was taking shape around them. As they reached the grand entrance of Misthaven, where their journey had begun what felt like a lifetime ago, Faelan and his companions paused to take in the view. The floating castle now hung in a sky that shifted between day and night, dawn and dusk, clear and stormy. Below, the land of Avalon was a patchwork of realities, each blending into the next in a harmonious tapestry of possibility. The misty bridge that had led them to the castle now branched out in multiple directions, leading to different versions of Avalon that coexisted in this new reality. Faelan felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders, knowing that as the wielder of the forgotten runes, he would play a crucial role in guiding this new world. But as he looked at Willow, Iris and Cyrus, he knew he wouldn't face this task alone. The whimsical journey that had brought them together had forged bonds stronger than mere friendship. They were now custodians of a new age, united in their mission to nurture and protect the reborn Avalon. As days turned to weeks in the new Avalon, Faelan found himself settling into his role as guardian of the reborn world. Misthaven, once a mysterious and capricious entity, had become an extension of his will, a living chronicle of the myriad possibilities that now coexisted in harmony. From the highest tower of the floating castle, Faelan watched over the patchwork landscape below, marveling at the intricate dance of realities that flowed and merged like rivers of light. Willow stood beside him, her shadow cloak now a comforting presence rather than a shroud of secrets. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" she mused, her voice carrying the weight of their shared history. 1,000 lifetimes, 1,000 Avalons, all existing as one. The whimsical nature of their initial adventure had evolved into something grander, more purposeful, yet no less wondrous. Iris had taken to her new role with characteristic enthusiasm, flitting between realities as an ambassador of joy and possibility. Her laughter echoed through the halls of Misthaven, a reminder of the lightness that balanced the gravity of their responsibility. Cyrus, freed from the burden of his former purpose, had become a scholar of the new order, meticulously documenting the intricate ways in which the various Avalons interacted and influenced each other. His once stern visage now often bore a look of quiet amazement as he unravelled the complexities of their new existence. As Faelan's mastery of the forgotten runes grew, so too did his understanding of the delicate balance he must maintain. Each decision, each subtle manipulation of reality, sent ripples through the tapestry of Avalon. He learned to tread carefully, to consider the far-reaching consequences of even the smallest actions. It was a heavy responsibility, but one he bore with growing confidence, bolstered by the support of his companions and the knowledge that this was the role he had been preparing for across countless lifetimes. The castle itself seemed to respond to his growing wisdom, its whimsical shifts and changes becoming more purposeful, guiding visitors to the realities and knowledge they sought, often before they even realized their need. One misty evening, as Faelan stood in the garden of twilight blooms, now a vibrant ecosystem of flora from across all possible Avalons, he felt a familiar presence approach. Turning, he saw not just Willow, but a shimmering projection of himself as he had been at the start of this journey. Young, uncertain, burning with curiosity but unaware of his true destiny. The sight stirred memories of that fateful day when he had first laid eyes on the floating castle, of the sense of homecoming he had felt even then. "You've come so far," Willow said softly, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Yet in many ways this is just the beginning." Faelan nodded, understanding the truth of her words. The cycle that had bound them for so long was broken, but a new journey, one of growth, discovery, and endless possibility, stretched out before them. As the sun set on another day in the reborn Avalon, Faelan gathered his companions in the heart of Misthaven. The Chamber of Forgotten Runes, once a nexus of raw power, had transformed into a serene sanctuary where the wisdom of countless realities converged. "We've reshaped our world," Faelan began, his voice resonating with the quiet confidence he had gained. "But our greatest challenge lies ahead. We must guide Avalon not towards a single fixed destiny, but towards a future where all possibilities can flourish." He turned to Willow, a smile of recognition and shared purpose passing between them. "Together we'll write a new legacy, not just for ourselves, but for every version of Avalon that now exists within our care." As his words hung in the air, the castle hummed with approval, its whimsical nature now a reflection of the boundless potential that lay before them. In that moment, surrounded by the family he had found and the destiny he had embraced, Faelan knew that the true adventure of the floating castle's legacy was only just beginning.